So Donald Trump just had a State of the Union, and it was long and boring with goofy things like he always does. It was a big, beautiful helicopter invading Venezuela. There were many, many troops. All right, just get to the goddamn point, right? And then he bragged about nonsensical things like, we were going to give 1775 to the troops.
Welcome back, folks, and buckle up. We just witnessed the post-game analysis of Trump's latest State of the Union, and these commentators are not holding anything back. They are convinced it was a disaster, full of fluff, lies, and a complete disconnect from reality. But you know what? I think they're missing a few critical points. We're going to dive deep into the shredding of Trump's speech, and I'm going to tell you exactly where they're going wrong, where their own bias are blinding them, and why their outrage must be a little, let's just say, performative. Get ready for some truth bombs because it's time to call out the nonsense and inject some common sense into this political theater. Let's roll the clip.
And then I said, why not add $1 making 1776? Imagine Obama like being excited about that. I added the dollar and I made it a cuter number, right? So why is he doing that and why am I starting with that? Because guys, this was a lot of fluff and emptiness in the speech. We've got a third of our fleet sitting in the Persian Gulf ready to go to war with Iran. That would be a more disastrous war than Iraq. We have no plan for who's going to take over, even if we were able to kill the Ayatollah. This war is totally for Israel and not discussed almost at all in the speech, glided right past it, didn't mention the Epstein files, made up a bunch of numbers about the economy and.
Okay, let's address some of the things the speaker has been saying. First, he's already sounded like he's already made up his mind before Trump even opened his mouth. Long and boring, goofy things, nonsensical bragging. Seriously, it's like he got his script pre-written, regardless of what he actually said. And this idea that giving troops a specific symbolic number like 1775 is nonsensical, are we really that cynical now? It's a nod to history, folks, a patriotic gesture. Not every single thing has to be a cold, hard, data-driven policy proposal. Sometimes leadership, it's about rallying the spirit, about reminding people of our shared heritage. These guys want to dissect every word like it's a quantum physics equation, but they miss the forest for the trees. They're so busy looking for fluff, they ignore the message that resonates with a lot of Americans who appreciate a bit of national pride, even if it comes with a symbolic dollar amount. It's not about the dollar, folks. It's about the spirit.
As he always does, and we told you in our play-by-play of it, all the different things that he was making up, there really isn't much to brag about right now. So he basically did a marketing spiel for like the first hour and a half, which was about domestic policy. And since the prices are higher and people are struggling with it, and he's minus 27 in approval rating, which is a disaster, he was just like, oh, I'll just do marketing and I'll market my way out of this. Oh my God, this is the greatest economy the country's ever had. Everybody's super rich. There's no problems at all. And the Dow's above 50,000, the Dow. And he bragged about the stock market. And
okay, hold on a second. This sarcastic straw man argument is exactly what we need to call out. The speaker is putting words in Trump's mouth, exaggerating to an absurd degree to make a point. Did Trump say everyone is super rich? No, of course he didn't. Did he brag about the economy? Yeah, of course, yes, absolutely. Because for many people, especially before the current administration's policies took hold, the economy was doing incredibly well under his watch. The stock market, for all its complexities, is an indicator of economic health and investor confidence. Dismissing it as irrelevant because not many people, not everyone needs to be rich, but not many people are dying. It's just very disingenuous. It impacts pensions, retirement funds, and overall national wealth. It's easy to point to individual struggles, and those are real. But to completely deny any positive economic indicators is just willful blindness. It's like saying the sun isn't shining because there's a cloud in your backyard. Now, come on, folks, let's be fair.
like, did we get any closer to finding out if we're going to go to war with Iran? No, not really. And to me, like, this whole thing is theater that's nonsense. None of those guys actually run the country. The Israeli lobby runs the country. So maybe we should have Netanyahu give the State of the Union. But this was a dull speech filled with like misinformation. That's not surprising. That's what he normally does. But really, it was it was more ineffective than usual because in the old days, his guys at least loved him. So that was 40% of the country or something, and they'd believe everything he said, and they'd be so excited. But now it feels like the balloon's out of the, the air's out of the balloon. But it felt like those guys, the Republicans in Congress, didn't understand that at all, right? And they were like, "Oh my God, things are going great." No, everybody hates what's going on. Trump is at minus 42nd with independents, and they're partying like it's 1999, like they won. In fact, he kept saying, like, "Oh, we won and won. We're winning so much. People love how much we're winning." Then why are you minus 27 in approval rating? Can you acknowledge reality for once in your life? And of course he couldn't. So what he did with the rest of the speech was, and then there's Bobby, and he was covered in blood, and it was someone we don't like. And so we hit him, and we did bad things to him. And now there was Susie. She was covered in blood, okay? And then we did bad things to the person who covered her in blood. Yeah. And then every time C-SPAN would go to like Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib, and they're looking at like, what the hell's going on here, right? And attacking people, as he always says. But I thought it was, and by the way, guys, we give credit where credit is due, and we separate out policy and effectiveness and politics. And so often on this show, we've told you, as much as Trump might drive you crazy, politically, some of the stuff that he did, pretending to be a populist, etc., was very effective. And we told you when it was effective. And in fact, we warned you that he might win the 2 elections that he won because we were worried that it was effective. This was not that. This was totally ineffective and dull, and I don't think that it's gonna help him at all. Anna, what do you think?
I think that our country and normal American working class people continue to struggle, and there was absolutely nothing in that speech that made it clear to me that Trump either lives in this reality that Americans are facing or even gives a damn about the reality that Americans are facing.
This is a classic line, isn't it? He doesn't live in our reality. He doesn't give a damn. It's the go-to critique for any politician they don't like. But let's be real. Which politician truly lives in the reality of the average American? Are we talking about the career politicians who never run a business, never served in the military, never truly struggled financially? Trump, for all his flaws, actually did connect with a segment of the working class in a way that traditional politicians fail to. He talked about jobs, about bringing manufacturing back, and about securing borders, issues that do resonate with many, so many, struggling Americans. To say he doesn't give a damn is a broad, sweeping generalization designed to dismiss him entirely. Maybe his approach isn't what these commentators prefer, but to deny he has any concern for the country is just partisan noise. It's about policy, not just empathy theater.
He talked about how he banned institutional investors from buying up residential real estate, which is nonsense. That would need to be passed through Congress. And Congress overwhelmingly rejected the idea of passing that type of legislation. Simply because Trump says he's going to do something doesn't mean that he actually did it. In fact, he usually doesn't do what he claims he's going to do on behalf of working class Americans. Our country is now drowning in $40 trillion in debt. The situation is going to be made much worse as we continue this military buildup in the Persian Gulf and potentially have a sustained military campaign against Iran that does not benefit the American people in any way, shape, or form. It could potentially risk the lives of our soldiers in the region who are based in the Middle East. But focusing on, Americans domestically and what they're experiencing with their finances, you ought to brag about the economy. Why don't you talk a little bit about the fact that Americans are experiencing record debt, personal debt, credit card debt, no end in sight when it comes to relief. Obviously, our healthcare is even more expensive now that the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act have expired, thanks to the Republican members of Congress who refused to extend them. The ridiculous notion that Trump has lowered pharmaceutical drug prices is just demonstrably untrue, and you can check for yourselves. Don't take my word for it. Log on to his platform where he alleges that you can get your pharmaceutical drugs for much less. It's just not true. I am at a point in my life where I understand the Americans who voted for Trump in 2016 because they were genuinely under the impression that he was America first. I do not want to get involved in foreign entanglements. I think we do need to focus on our country. But here's the problem. Trump is not representative of a politician who actually gives a damn about the United States. He has raped and pillaged this country of its resources. He has used the office of the presidency to enrich himself and will continue to do so. And when you look at our deficit, meaning the amount that we are overspending above what we're bringing in revenue, it continues to explode under the Trump administration, meaning that our national debt will continue to grow faster and faster. We're already spending $1 trillion a year servicing our national debt. It's only gonna get worse. We need a real leader. And for me, a real leader is someone who's willing to stand up and say, I am against the Zionists. No more money for Israel, no more foreign entanglements, no more nonsense in the Middle East. We're gonna focus on the United States. We're gonna use these resources, not on foreign aid for Israel, but on building our infrastructure here in the US. That's what the focus should be. Trump is never gonna do it, guys, and neither are these stanky ass corporate Democrats who have disappointed us time and time again. It's time to have higher standards, and we need to see proof that a politician is willing to give Israel the middle finger and focus his or her attention on the United States, on the American people, because we freaking deserve it. That's my take. Go ahead.
Yeah, before I get to John, real quick, a couple of numbers to back up what Anna's saying. So we added $4 trillion to the debt through the giant tax cuts that he bragged about in the speech. He is now talking about, hey, $1 trillion in the defense budget is not enough. Before they were talking about cutting it, now they've added tremendously to it. Now he's proposing to add another $500 billion on top to make it $1.5 trillion, even though they have never passed an audit. That money is going to slush funds and pork while we're drowning in debt. We spent $8 trillion on the global war on Israel's enemies. And so Trump has added at least $12 trillion to a $38 trillion debt. There's no end in sight. They're not even talking about balancing the budget. It's an economic nightmare, and that's gonna explode on us. This war's gonna explode on us, but back to John now.
Yeah, it's an absolute mess. And I remember the months last year that Republicans had discovered, like how Trump discovered the word affordability, they discovered waste, fraud, and abuse, thanks to Elon Musk, and they were so focused on getting rid of it. And now they're just gonna add $500 billion to the military budget. You mentioned earlier the Republican response, how they didn't seem to get it. They're all cheering and everything. And I think Trump doesn't get how mad people are. I think the Republicans in the room don't care because they've already gotten everything they need. They got their tax cuts that benefit them personally, and more importantly, benefit far more their donors. And they're permanent. Like, it's unlikely the Democrats are going to get rid of them. And even if they do, it's gonna take literally years. And now, the midterms are gonna go bad for the Republicans. That might be bad for Donald Trump. But for the vast majority of the Republicans in that room who are not gonna lose their seats and will find themselves in the minority, who the hell cares? I'm sure that's a load off their back because now there's no more obligation for them to actually do anything. They got the only legislation they actually care about, and now they can just sit fat and happy for the next couple of years.
We can't keep moving forward the way we've been moving forward, John, right? Like the typical, let's wait and hopefully we can have a candidate that we slightly liked, and maybe if we
I don't find that utterly acceptable at all, but I'm saying the Republicans do not care if there's only 200 of them after this, because they got what they wanted. Now, for Donald Trump, there is a speech he could have given that I think could have actually done as much as any State of the Union could do to turn his numbers around. But unfortunately, everything about him, like to the cellular level, and certainly everything of his brain, he cannot take responsibility. He cannot own up to the failings. He just won't do it. And so, like regular Republicans who are watching that are gonna soak up all of the propaganda, the jingoism and all that, the medals here and medals there and all that, and they're probably gonna like it. It's gonna feel good. Some of those were feel-good stories of people overcoming terrible circumstances and being covered in blood and all that stuff, and they're gonna feel good about it. But the issue is that then they're gonna go to sleep and they're gonna wake up and they're still not gonna be able to afford a house, and they're not gonna be able to afford their medical insurance, and it isn't gonna matter who got the Medal of Freedom if they can't afford anything, and if they're falling behind and they have no hope that their kids are gonna do better than they were. And then they're gonna think about it, oh my God, not only did Donald Trump not actually solve the problems and didn't even seem to acknowledge them in the State of the Union, he also spit in my face saying, we're so tired of winning, we're winning too much, can we slow down on the winning? Everything's great, golden age this and American glory that. And the person who cannot afford anything and their credit card debt is continually going up is gonna feel, I think, justifiably enraged by the display that they saw. And I don't think, like, I was thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs while I was watching that. If things are like okay, then not actually addressing the real problems that remain and just giving me like, oh, immigrants are bad, and hey, look at this guy, he did a great thing, he gets a medal. Maybe that's a good distraction or can sustain me. But when I am struggling to survive, I do not care about that stuff. It's not as effective as it used to be, and it hasn't been as effective as it used to be for literally months. Donald Trump has been telling those lies about gas being $1.99 for the better part of half a year at this point. It's never been true, and people don't seem to be buying it because his numbers keep slipping. Just yelling it louder and with some energy, I don't see how that as a strategy could possibly work. I think that this is actually gonna hurt him.
Yeah, so let me just follow up on a couple of things that were said. So John mentioned the lies and how it doesn't help. Well, you know, and you mentioned during the speech that he said, oh, and I cut taxes on your Social Security, except they didn't. So then if you're, have Social Security, you know that. Is that lie still gonna work for you? Then one of our viewers looked up the 9 drugs he's taken on Trump RX, because what we said during the speech is you can go look up your drugs on Trump RX, it's not gonna be covered. Just like Joe Biden, he covered a tiny amount of drugs and pretends that he solves the problem, when in reality, we still can't negotiate drug prices. That's why they're sky high. And we're all paying a fortune for them. Just doing marketing and blobbity blah doesn't solve any of these problems. Housing prices, he said, I'm not going to bring them down. He bragged about how high they were and how he's going to keep them up. People are furious about housing prices. So he's almost rubbing it in their face. That's not going to help at all. And then another one of our viewers and our members, and I love doing the show with you guys, went on to the Fox chat to check in on MAGA. And they came back and reported they're not that happy. A lot of dissent in that chat, which you would have never seen in a Fox News chat as Trump was speaking before. And that's why we keep telling you, look, he's minus 27 underwater in favorability, minus 47 with independence. You can't BS your way out of that. Okay, I want to go back. I want to mention the 2 elephants in the room to close. But first, some great points by some of you guys out there. The Capricorn 11 said on Super Chat, sundowner babble. That is like a perfect description. You should be here. That is I wish we had said that, right? That's exactly what it felt like. I said during the speech that he looked like a guy at a senior citizen center who was still telling a story, but everybody else had gone to bed. And he just didn't realize he's telling that same story for the 18th time. Yeah. They're just so bored by it. He's like leaning on the podium and he's like, no, I tell you, there was blood everywhere. Where's the hockey team? Come on down. And I was like, dude, everybody already went home, okay? And then, so finally, our members on YouTube, Rim954 said, Hakeem Jeffries looks very well rested from doing absolutely nothing.
True.
He did, he looked great.
Preach.
Okay, that's also true. Intuitive, and then another member had written in earlier, Nancy Pelosi has the Epstein file pin on, as if like, you were the Speaker of the House, why don't you release the files? So we're equal opportunity here. We're not interested in any of the politicians' BS. Intuitive One Co says, so the strategy is to show American honor related to war. They are creating an image of what happens after this upcoming Iranian war will not go the way they are making it seem. So that's a terrific point. And I think that the reason why I give away the Purple Heart and the Medal of Honor and this military guy and that military guy was to set the stage without talking about the Iran war at length, or justifying it at all, because there is no American interest there at all. That's why he couldn't even make anything up. Made up the talk about he's like, yeah, we destroyed their nuclear program. 30 seconds later, he's like, we need to destroy their nuclear program. The same fraudulent weapons of mass destruction, horse crap we were fed in Iraq. So that brings me to the conclusion, which is 2 giant elephants in the room that were really not addressed. It's the only thing that anybody really cared about, and he barely talked about one and didn't talk about the other at all. The Epstein files are just sitting there, right? Like a foul stench in the air. And the only person who noticed it was JD Vance, apparently, because the whole speech is like, and people were wondering what he was smelling or whatever. Mike Johnson has that like little choir boy look. Oh my God, really, right? But of course he's not gonna talk about the Epstein files, but why is that so important? Other than the fact that it's, pedophiles who are protected by our government, it gives us a sense of, oh, we're not in charge of our government. because the right wing, the left wing, and every other kind of wing wants those files released, and Trump under no circumstances wants them released.
Okay, let's pump the brakes right here. This idea that every kind of wing wants the Epstein files released and Trump under no circumstances wants them released is a massive leap. It's a convenient narrative that paints Trump as the ultimate villain in a conspiracy, ignoring the fact that the Epstein network implicated people across the political spectrum and many powerful individuals. The left-leaning media and politicians often use this to bash Trump. But where's the consistent outrage for all the names involved, regardless of their political affiliation? It's surely about justice for victims and exposing corruption, then the scrutiny should be equal. To pin the entire cover-up solely on Trump, ignoring the decades this scandal has festered under various administrations and power structures, is intellectually dishonest. It's a selective outrage designed to target one person, rather than expose the deep-seated rot that allowed Epstein to operate for so long in the first place.
And the other giant elephant in the room was the fact that really are the countries run by Israel, so the whole speech is irrelevant. We're just gonna do whatever Israel wants, including this disastrous war in Iran.
I have to say one final thing about your point on the Epstein files. Look, I have taken a tremendous amount of heat for speaking out against crime, especially in liberal cities, and I don't regret it one bit, but it's really hard to take Trump's statements about crime seriously when he has engaged in a cover-up of one of the largest crime-related scandals in American history. Okay, people literally raping our children, and he is providing cover for them. Yep. So while I do absolutely take crime seriously, and I think that Democrats engaged in unforced errors during the Biden administration by allowing repeat violent offenders out over and over and over again, it pales in comparison to what we've seen from Trump and his DOJ when it comes to the Epstein files, the cover up, the heavy redactions, the lies about how no files actually exist. And then it turns out, no, actually there are millions of files.
Yeah.
So,
well,
he is a charlatan, okay? And so is Pam Bondi and the rest of the ghouls in this administration who do not care about the American people or our troops. So we should be clear about that, and we should demand more of our politicians, because make no mistake about it, we don't work for them. They're supposed to work for us, period. Sorry, go ahead, John.
I apologize. Yeah, I think that there were a lot of things that people have very serious concerns about, and he didn't even pretend to really address their concerns.
Exactly.
The affordability stuff, he just denied. He said food prices are going down. No, actually, there was back in October, I think it was the highest food-related inflation in 1 month since 2022. He's just pretending it. People's concerns about DHS and about these federal agents gunning people down, didn't even pretend to understand it.
Of course.
Didn't want to reassure anyone on that. Just the idea that even amongst a lot of MAGA, that he's just too focused on foreign policy in other countries. He talked about it a bunch and how great it is that we're doing all this stuff and we're gonna spend another $500 billion so that we can send a Chinook into Venezuela or whatever, and it'll be awesome. Again, I don't think did anything to reassure people about that. And the many people, and lots of them are conservatives who are concerned about us handling the Epstein files, he did literally nothing to reassure them. And in fact, if they're suspicious that it's a cover-up, not mentioning it does a pretty good job of confirming that it is.
Yeah, great point.
And so, yeah, just all of these areas, again, it's unforced errors. There's a way to address it, potentially, something super dishonest, propagandistic or whatever, but he didn't even do that.
Yeah, I'll end the summary on the fourth person in the room, Edwin, our stage manager. We had that great line the other night. He said, they seem obsessed with the stock market when we're worried about the supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
and
that's pretty good.
I have to stop it right there. Obsessed with the stock market when we're worried about the supermarket? Oh, that's a catchy soundbite, isn't it? Very poetic. But it's also a false economy designed to make you feel like politicians only care about the rich. The truth is, a healthy stock market often correlates with a healthy economy, which can lead to more jobs, higher wages, and yes, eventually, more affordable groceries. These two aren't mutually exclusive. They're interconnected. When the economy is strong, businesses thrive, supply chains are more robust, and competition can help stabilize prices. To imply that focusing on economic indicators like the stock market means ignoring the struggles at the supermarket is simplistic and frankly, really misleading. It's a great line for a protest sign, but it's not a serious economic analysis. Real solutions require understanding both, not pitting them against each other for rhetoric effect.
And it's totally true. And the supermarket was not addressed here other than just more and more lies, just trying to get you to believe the prices are down when they're up. And the AI apocalypse hasn't hit yet. The Iran war hasn't hit yet. So he said it, things are going to get better and better and better. I'm pretty worried that they're not. And then that line will probably be used in ads later as things get worse and worse and worse. So tonight was not reassuring, and the State of the Union is not strong.
And there you have it, folks. We've peeled back the layers of criticism against Trump's State of the Union, and what we found is a lot of predictable outrage, selective memory, and a healthy dose of partisan spin. While some of their points about American struggles are valid, their blame game often misses the mark. It's crucial to listen with a critical ear, to question the narratives, and to demand honest analysis, not just emotional reaction. Don't let anyone tell you what to think. Go out there, do your own research, and form your own opinions. So tell me, if you appreciate us cutting through the noise and giving you a different perspective, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next breakdown. And as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear what you think. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. And as always, stay vigilant, patriots, stay vigilant.